Welcome back to the Self Trust Solution Podcast. Today's guest has built a global brand and digital marketing firm over 24 years, serving giants like Microsoft, Virgin, the New York Times, Colgate, along with high growth startups and nonprofits. Paige Arnof-Fenn is the founder and CEO of Mavens Moguls, a Stanford and Harvard Business School graduate, a board member, speaker, and trusted columnist for Entrepreneur and Forbes. But the story she's sharing today isn't about credentials. It's about the moment she trusted herself enough to walk away from a six-figure client and how that single act reshaped her leadership, her business ecosystem, and the kind of client she now attracts. Welcome, Paige.
Thank you, Dawn, for having me. I'm really excited to talk to you today.
Oh, we're so glad to have you because just in that intro, walking away from a six-figure client, we can't wait to hear more.
It was scary.
Yeah. Take us back to the early days of Mavens and Moguls. How were you thinking about success, clients, and opportunity back then?
So I joke that I'm like the accidental entrepreneur. I never thought I would be starting a company, but right after 9/11, a lot of marketing jobs just got canned. I mean, I got laid off and pretty much everyone I knew in my career. The stock market went crazy, which now it does every week, but back then it was a huge deal when it dropped hundreds of points. So all these companies were trying to conserve their cash. They didn't know if they'd ever be able to raise money again. So they laid off their marketing department. And because of my prior experience, a lot of people came out of the woodwork asking me to do consulting for them. And I never really thought of myself as a consultant.
Hmm.
I was always the head of marketing at every company I had ever worked for. So, um, I hung out a shingle just because of the opportunity that was out there to pick up independent clients. I didn't realize at the time I was really starting a company, but it became pretty obvious early on that, the market didn't bounce back immediately, and I had a pipeline of work, and I knew all these people that had been laid off that were looking for work. So I had people and I had projects, and I just started putting them together. And so, we built a website, and we were just kind of rolling up our sleeves, jumping in and helping a bunch of companies. And a lot of the work came by referral and word of mouth, which is a great way to build a business. And, we were just humming along, and I never really thought, I didn't write a business plan. I never thought I was starting a company that I'd be running 24 years later. I think if I had realized that, I probably would have been paralyzed. But, we had a bunch of really cool projects and some great clients, and we were up and running. And, kind of catch as catch can. And I was scared to turn away any business early on because, like any new business owner, you're just so excited and you throw yourself into it, and you're probably working longer and harder than you did when you were an employee.
Yeah.
But it was all very fun, and we were probably over servicing every client because it was all new and fresh, and I wanted to build a good reputation as an independent small business owner. So the early days, it was just like drinking from a fire hose. I was learning how to do it, um, you know, as
Yeah.
any, there's no manual that says, here's what you do. So I was doing everything.
Well, it didn't feel like even for the manuals that do exist out there that you would have had time to read them. You really were reacting to demand and opportunity.
Exactly. I
And
had people, I had projects, and I just started putting them together, and we were off and running.
yeah. So you said that you were scared to turn away any work. What did that fear sound like in your mind at the time?
So, we're a virtual company. So even before the pandemic, I had a network of contractors, and we all worked from home. And so I didn't have a lot of overhead. I didn't have a payroll. I was only paying people when they had work, but I wanted to keep as many people busy as I possibly could. And, my background, I worked for really big companies. I'd always gotten a paycheck. I had never done anything entrepreneurial, uh, in this way before. So, you want to prove that you're doing it and that you're growing. And so it just never dawned on me, even if it wasn't exactly our sweet spot, I would say, well, here's what we can do, or let's start with this and see how it goes. And if you like working with us, I think we can do even more for you. So, I just think it's a natural instinct for people that are ambitious and competitive. Like you want more. You want to, yeah. And because we had found clients pretty easily from the beginning, you just don't want it to end. And like I said, the economy didn't bounce back right away. If people thought a few weeks later everything would resolve, and it took a while for things to kind of pick up again. And so there wasn't anybody offering me a full-time job to go back and do things as a W-2 employee. So I thought, well, let's just see where this goes. Is we're having fun, let's keep doing it.
Yeah. So what was the fear piece of like what did that fear sound like?
I
You,
mean, again, there's no guaranteed paycheck when you're an entrepreneur.
so
You know,
would you had someone come back and said, "Hey, we now are opening up our marketing department again. We'd like you to head it up." Would you have said yeah?
well, it's funny because recruiters and people did call me. And the truth is, I got very lucky before starting my company. I started my career in big corporate jobs at Procter and Gamble, Coca-Cola, some of the biggest brands in the world. And when the internet started taking off, I quit my big corporate job at Coke and I headed up marketing for a startup out in Los Angeles. And that company went public and it was sold to Yahoo. And then I did another startup as the head of marketing and they got sold. And I did another startup as the head of marketing and they went public and they got sold. So, I had had a lot of career success before hanging out the shingles. So, and my husband and I were married, no pets, no plants, no kids. We didn't own a house. So I didn't have very many expenses. And I had been lucky on 3 small companies that all had good exits, so I didn't have to work, but I loved working. I was only in my 30s, and I was excited to keep doing it because the economy was really on a roll before 9/11. Internet 1.0 was booming.
Mm.
Um, I think the fear was, like, you know what am I gonna do? Like, what happens if I hate my boss this time? I'm gonna have to go back and find a good job, and I don't know. I just, I had had big company experience, small company experience, and I started to really like working for myself. I liked being independent. I liked having the flexibility, and I think the prior career success raised the bar for me. So it's like, I don't have to work. I'm working because I want to work. If these are problems that I can help companies solve, I'm having fun. I'm working with people I really like. And, you know, the the kind of job I'd have to be offered to walk away from this and go work for somebody else again, I started getting really picky, I guess. And so I thought, unless I get offered, like, a bullseye job, I don't need the aggravation of a boss and a public company board or a bunch of venture capitalists kinda saying they wanna sell the company right now and
Mm.
kinda wreaking havoc on my life, and so I just started loving the autonomy, the independence,
So you're
and
not picky about the like what it would look like, what it, the job would have to look like to pull you away from your business. But you aren't yet picky at this time about clients, right?
yeah, no, we were helping everybody
Yeah.
because
So let's talk about the pivotal moment where you fire a client in your very first year of business. So what was going on behind the scenes that made that so difficult?
So, you know, I got a very good introduction to this small business owner, and I knew we could help him. I got the business, I had the perfect team. We had a very, exciting kickoff. And it was one of those things where all the stars aligned. Like, he had a great story to tell. My team did a fantastic job of pitching him to the media locally and nationally. And a lot of stories got picked up very quickly. It just all came together. And on the second month of the project, um, he was really slow to pay us. And just his attitude on phone calls and emails was just not it didn't sit well with me. In my gut, I kind of felt a little queasy about it, but again, we were getting such good traction. He was having so much success. I kind of just, so, well, I'm sure he's going to come around. This is going so well. He's got to, be somebody that I'm going to love working with when this keeps working. So then month 3 rolls around, and 2 of the team members, I'm in Boston, and one of the team members was here with me in Boston, and 2 were in New York City. And the 2 New Yorkers were going to be in Boston for something. So I said to the client, maybe this month, instead of doing our monthly check in on email or on the phone, because before Zoom was a thing. I said, why don't we do it in person? He said, great, let's do it at the office. So the team met in his conference room, and we sit down. And by the way, he had just paid me for the second month, and now it's month 3. And I said, before we get started, um, let's just take a minute before we jump into the agenda. Now that you've got the whole team together for the first time in person, we've had, we're going on 3 months of working together. We had signed a 1-year engagement. It was a 6-figure project that he had hired us to do. And I said, before we jump in, why don't you take a minute and tell the team how excited you are about all the great press you've been getting? I mean, this has come together so quickly, and they have just done a dynamite job. And let's just take a pause and start with that. And he looks at me dead serious and he said, thank you. Like, why would I want to thank you? I'm paying you. I mean, isn't that what I'm paying you to do? You want me to thank you for doing your job? And that was like a punch in the gut. And I thought, okay, this guy really is an absolute jerk. And I really couldn't help myself. I said, actually, speaking of paying, I haven't been paid for this month yet. So maybe at the end of the meeting, you could go back to your desk, grab your checkbook, and we can walk out of here. We can get all caught up on the payments. And I said, well, we might as well just jump into the agenda. I mean, it pissed me off, and I wanted to kill him with kindness and just get through the meeting. But that really did not sit well with me. So we go through the agenda. We go through all the media that he's already gotten, and then what was coming up, that the PR team knew that there were 2 or 3 things that were about to hit that he didn't even know were going to pop up. And I think the red flashing light for me, so like I said, we had gotten him some very big national press. We had online, he had TV, he had radio. I mean, he had gotten all kinds of things. So he lived in a small town in suburban Boston. And one of the number of things he got, there's a weekly paper in his small town. It's a free newspaper that they have at, the bakery, the bank, the dry cleaner, the grocery. They have them sitting outside, and local people in town pick them up just to see what's happening in their neighborhood. It's not a very prestigious paper. It's just a local rag, but we had pitched them because he was a local guy who had a great business story. And he says to the team, not how amazed he was that national media was interested in his story. But he just volunteers. He says, you know what the best thing you guys did for me? The best thing, and I can't even tell you how great it was. The local newspaper, that article, man, every time I went to the dry cleaner, the drugstore, people like, "Wait, aren't you the guy that was in the like, was that story about your company? I saw you in there. Wow, that's cool." Like, he was like a local celebrity. And what I realized was, like, this guy really is a jerk, and he knows a lot of people in his town that also own small businesses, and they know he's a jerk too. And my biggest fear, Don, was that the guys that knew him would think, this guy's a jerk. And I am too, but I'm not as big of a jerk as him. If that PR team can get him this kind of press, imagine what they could do for me. And it was like, oh my God, I'm going to end up working for a bunch of clients who I don't like, and I don't really want to help them be successful. So, literally, as he's sitting here bragging about people recognizing him at the local Starbucks when he's getting his coffee and whatnot, I decide, like in the middle of the meeting, this is not gonna, I can't in good faith keep working for this guy for the rest of the year. So the meeting ends, we get through the agenda, and I remind him that he's gonna go get his checkbook and pay for the month, and he comes back with a check. And I said, this has been great. I'm really glad we've had a successful 3 months. I think we are not the best team for you. I think you're going to be better served by another group. And he's like, what are you talking about? And I said, I really appreciate you catching up on the payments, but I think at the end of the month, we're going to shake hands and part ways. And he said, are you firing me as a client? And I said, yeah, I guess I am. He said, why would you do that? And I said, I just don't think we're a good team. I don't think we're the right team for you. I think you really would be better served elsewhere. So we shake hands, the team leaves, we're back in the parking lot, getting into our cars. And they were just like shell shocked. They're like, I can't believe you just fired this guy. And I said, I really resented how he disrespected y'all. I mean, you are so good at what you do. You make it look easy, but he benefited so much. He did so well by you, and he couldn't even say thank you. He couldn't even when he started talking about the local tabloid, and being recognized at Starbucks, it literally made my stomach turn. And I know y'all have overserviced him to death. I know he's paying us $10,000 a month to do the work, but you're probably giving him more like $15,000 of value, and he doesn't appreciate it. He has no concept of what you're doing above and beyond. And my feeling is it's kind of like feng shui. Like when you clear out the clutter, it opens up space for better things to happen.
Yeah. So, what did shift in your business and maybe even your leadership once that client was gone?
I think from the team's perspective, they they knew I had their back. They were really appreciative that I saw that he was not treating them well and that I had their back and I supported them, and I recognized a quality job and the caliber of work they were doing. And I think from a culture standpoint, it emboldened them. Like they knew I had my money where my mouth was, literally. Like I
Mhm.
was not going to take money from people who do not share our core values. Like they really are not a good fit for us.
Yeah.
And it raised the bar. I was able in meetings or by reputation hearing about people, my 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 antenna was up, and there were people that were recommended that would have been lucrative clients where my gut feel was, I don't think this is going to be a good fit. And I didn't sign those contracts. Again, I told them, we're just not the right team for you. I think you're going to be a better fit for another agency. And
So,
I
are
I'm
you
happy.
saying what shifted was you were more in tune with your gut instincts and more like following?
Absolutely, and really living my core values. If you wanna work with people, who share a thing, integrity and have a good sense of humor and are, good people. Like I want to work with and for people that I like hanging out with, that I could sit next to in a cross country uh, airplane and I would enjoy talking to them.
Well,
You
yeah,
know,
what you're describing is probably what had you known you were building a business instead of falling into it. These are things you would have decided ahead of time, but you're learning them as you go, which is also a beautiful way. We talked a lot of the self trust coach about do it for data instead of waiting for so long. Sometimes we do learn the best through taking action, and so that's the other thing that grew from this. It sounds like is you are more aligned with who it is that you want to work with, what your company values are, what your values are, and what you look for in those relationships. And I dare say, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that you see them as relationships instead of just clients coming that you just have to take because you're new in business.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think one of the beautiful things about starting a company that doesn't require a huge amount of capital, having a workforce that is contingent. I didn't have rent, I didn't have overhead, I didn't have payroll. I don't have to work. I'm working because I want to work. And I reminded myself, like, I didn't, I didn't not go back to a corporate job or having a boss or dealing with a hierarchy, like, to do this. Like
Right. To
it's like
become your own worst boss.
exactly, to work for people I don't wanna spend time with. If I wanna do that, I can go take a big paycheck and go work at a company that I don't really like, but they're paying me well. I've done
You
that before.
actually did replace that income within a month.
Yeah,
Why do you think things aligned so quickly afterward?
I think when you're very clear about, like, what matters, what you're looking for, the world conspires to help you find that.
Yeah.
So when you say to people, you know, they say, "Oh my god, I have friends, company that needs marketing." You know, I ask, "Tell me about your friend. Tell me about the business." I did a little more back channel investigation. I wasn't
Mhm.
just gonna take every client that needed help because I wanna help organizations that wanna make a difference in the world, that they wanna do something that really matters. And it doesn't have to be a nonprofit with a huge mission. I think there are a lot of businesses, big businesses, small businesses, nonprofit organizations, and I'm kind of industry agnostic. I don't care if it's a consumer product or a professional service business or a technology, but if they're really trying to leave the world better than they found it, if they're trying to add value to their community, if they're trying to help people, and they see that their product or service kind of transcends the category that they're in. That's the kind of people I like spending time with. Those are the people I want to help. And I just got very clear on that. That's what's going to make me happy. That's what's going to make my team thrive. And that creates a culture that attracts the right kind of people that are either colleagues or clients. And I really do think when you put it out there, the more specific you can be, the more helpful other people can be to help you find that path.
Yeah. And really looking at like what's important for you, like for the people who are going to walk along with you and the people that you're going to serve. So, you really talk about the importance of getting the right people around you. And that is not just clients, it's collaborators and team members. How do
Absolutely.
you think self trust has influenced how you choose those people?
Well, I mean, you are your most important customer or client. And so you have to treat yourself the way you would treat your very best kind of colleague or client or customer. And I don't know. I mean, I guess I just feel like I started my professional career out of college on Wall Street in the 1980s. And it was a crazy time, and they paid me a lot of money that I probably didn't deserve when I was 21 years old, but I worked my butt off. And I didn't enjoy the work, but finance jobs, Wall Street jobs in New York pay a lot of money. And I think after that experience, I realized I'm not just looking for the biggest paycheck. I really want to do work that matters, that I care about. And anytime that I strayed from that thought, I immediately kind of bounced back to being in that lane again.
Mhm.
And, in hanging out a shingle and starting my company again, I got kind of sucked in immediately with like the big paycheck, like someone signing a big contract, okay, let me give it a shot. So I'm grateful that I learned that lesson really well with my first paid job out of college and my first 6 months of starting my company, because when you're in touch with what's really important, with your core values, with putting your money where your mouth is, I just think you bring your whole self to every opportunity.
Mm.
You don't
Yeah.
have to hide, you know,
Yeah, when
behind
you have self-trust, like saying no to what doesn't serve those values or the company that you want to build becomes so much easier. Saying
absolutely
yes to the right clients, the right collaborators, right team members, and being okay if they turn out not to be, because people change and different, we try things out and they don't always fit. So that's where I see self-trust really showing up in you and in your business, is that you let it be learning experiences instead of sentences, like life sentences, like, oh, well, now I have to have this client for a whole year because he signed a contract. No, it's not a good fit. We can part ways.
right.
So
Because
important.
in life, any small business person knows there's always twists and turns. Running a company today, it's a bit of a roller coaster ride. There are going to be ups, there are going to be downs, and that's a given. And it's who do you want to be in the trenches with to help you dig out to get back on top again. And I think when you're with the right people, they have the right mindset, they have the right values, the I just think you're setting yourself up for success, because there are going to be bumps in the road. There's never an absolute smooth path, and anyone that tells you that it's all wine and roses, they're not telling you the truth. Everybody's got, it's kind of the good, the bad, and the ugly. And it's what do you learn in those down periods? And
Well,
what
and when you're with the right people, and you tell me if you agree, when you have the right people surrounding you, whether it be client, team members, or all of the above, collaborators, all of it, the highs aren't so shocking. They're like just part of it. And the lows aren't so devastating. It's like it's all just part of it.
absolutely,
And
it's
it
part of the
becomes more of
journey.
an ebb and flow versus this rocky climb and then drop.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And I just think you learn a lot, and you have those war stories, and they kind of become part of your history. They become part of your story. And people can draw strength from that, and they can remember what it was like in the down periods. They can remember what it was like kind of clawing their way back from the edge, and it's motivation, and they use that as energy, and it bonds people in a way. When you go to boot camp together, you're friends for life. You've
Yes.
been on the kind of other side of it, and you say, "We've got that in us. We can get from here to there. We did it before, we can do it again." And those are the kind of organizations, I think, that build the right culture, where people roll up their sleeves, they dig in, they're in it together, they have each other's backs. And that's the kind of organization I wanted to build. And,
Mhm.
you
But
know,
it takes individuals that are really clear on the values of the project, of the company, of yeah, what you're doing for your clients. I think
exactly.
that's so
Exactly.
important because it's so much easier to follow that when you are operating from a sense of self trust because what I see when you don't have it, and you can build trust when you talk about like in the trenches, like when people think that it takes time to build trust, it's not always true. In those extreme moments, we've seen where you can build trust really quickly when you have aligned values, you have an aligned mission, and you know that you're all willing to work towards it. That builds trust really quickly.
Exactly.
Um, and so I love that. That's such a good example of but having the self trust first means not trying to prove and step over the people to like fit yourself above it. It makes it safe to be part of the team instead of thinking that you have to somehow call yourself out or hide. So
Right. You learn together, you
yeah,
rise together.
totally. So for any leaders listening, entrepreneurs who are afraid to let go of maybe misaligned revenue, let's call it, what would you say to them?
I mean, it's hard. I get it. I've been there, but you can't be scared. You really can't. I had to pause. I had to take a beat, but you really do open yourself up for better things to come because it's like the money is not worth it if, you're having to give a pound of flesh you don't want to have to just like re-wound the wound. I would just encourage people to make sure that they're as a small business owner, you're the leader and the optics really count. What you say, what you do, how you look when you're walking around and talking to people. People can see through it if you're kind of blowing smoke. I feel like you got to walk the walk. You got to kind of say the truth because I think you really lose people's confidence and I don't think you're going to get the best out of your team if you say one thing and do another, or if your body language doesn't sync up with what you're saying. So I would just encourage people, be really clear on your values, be really clear on what success looks like. And your definition of success can change over time. Mine certainly did. It might not always be about the biggest ticket revenue. There are other things that can matter in terms of how you value kind of the longer term relationship. It's not always about the short term kind of revenue hits. You
Mhm.
can trade off, you know, short term gains for long term success. So have the courage to follow your convictions.
Yeah. If you can speak to the version of yourself who was just getting started, in that sort of like feeding from the fire hose, drinking water from the fire hose moment, what would you tell her now?
I mean, you know, don't be scared.
Mhm.
I really don't believe in the concept of failure. I believe you either kind of learn something or you're winning. I
Yes.
don't believe you're failing. If you learn from every experience, good, bad, or ugly, you're going to be better off. And I would tell my younger self, you don't need to be perfect. You don't have to have all the information. Be confident to take the next step. Just keep moving forward. And if you end up getting knocked down, just get yourself back up again and take another step forward. Don't worry so much about, next year, next quarter, next decade. Just be successful today. Make every decision today to set yourself up for success tomorrow. Some of those decisions, you may have to pivot. You might get better information tomorrow or next week that's going to give you a different perspective. And that's okay. You can change course. You can, pivot if you need to, but don't not do anything. Don't get paralyzed by fear because that's not going to serve you well. Do the best you can today, and that's going to set you up for the best situation tomorrow.
Totally. So tell us a little bit about your business now, what it looks like, and who you do serve.
So, my company is Mavens and Moguls, and we are a virtual marketing department for organizations that are looking to find the right words and pictures to tell their story.
Mm.
So, we help small businesses, middle-sized businesses, public companies, private companies, nonprofits do a better job with everything under the marketing umbrella. So we can help them with advertising, public relations, market research, packaging, pricing, any of the marketing tools in the toolkit. And I've been doing marketing since 1990, a long time. And I'm working with a great team of people. And we are geographically dispersed 14 cities across the US and some major metro areas overseas. And we're having a ball. I can't believe it's been 24 years since I started. I
Well,
never would have guessed that I'd still be doing it.
congratulations. Where can people find out more about you and your firm?
Online at our website, mavensandmoguls.com. It's mavensandmoguls.com. And I'm also on LinkedIn. You can see my last name has a hyphen in it, but on LinkedIn, it's all one word, no hyphen.
And
So
we'll have that linked in the show notes.
perfect.
Paige, thank you for showing us that self trust isn't just personal development, it's actually business strategy, which aligns perfectly with the Self Trust Solution podcast. And if you have a self trust story to share, I'd love to hear it. And if you're ready to create yours, I'd love to help you claim it. Visit theselftrustcoach.com or check the show notes for more details. And don't forget to check out mavensandmoguls.com. Make sure you're subscribed. Season 3 is filled with stories just like this one. See you next time on the Self Trust Solution podcast.
Thanks.